Good morning. It's Kenny Tate with Money Box Realtors, bringing you our weekly market update for October the 18th of 2010. Wanted to focus in on something that's a little bit different this morning rather than just where the market is today. The chart that you see on top is the number of closed sales that were closed in the Tulsa metropolitan area last year, 2009 through October 15th. You can see there were 10,171 properties changed hands versus this year through that same time period of October 15th, where we had 9,184 properties actually exchanged. So from a pacing standpoint, we're about 987 sales behind where we were this time last year. And obviously we all know that's not necessarily good, but we know there are a couple of factors that have factored into that. Lack of tax credits at this point versus where we were at last year with people scurrying around trying to meet a November 30th deadline for a tax credit last year. So it is what it is. That's really not what I wanted to focus on today. I kind of wanted to focus on something that a lot of people don't necessarily take a look at in the marketplace, and it's unfortunate that when people are making pricing decisions that they don't factor this in, because I think that it has a lot to do with ultimately how quickly they perform on the market and how satisfied they are with their real estate experience. If you look at the parts that I've highlighted, that's the list price and the sale price for both of the years that we're taking a look at. And one of the things I always look at is the list to sale price ratio. So in other words, what is that? That is how much as a seller do I have to negotiate off my listed price in order to get a contract. Now, the number can be a little bit of a misnomer because one of the things that it does not take into account is how many price reductions did you get to as a seller before you got ultimately to the price range in which somebody was going to make you an offer. And that can have a lot to do with your marketing time as well. So what this factor is the list price when the property actually went under contract. And unfortunately, lots of folks don't take a look at this when they start out, and they end up way too high to begin with in the marketplace, thinking, oh gosh, I've got to have all this negotiating room. Well, in fact, if you take a look at it, it'll tell you that you don't need near the negotiating room that you thought. If you divide the sale price by the list price, that'll give you the ratio. For the 2009 figure, you can see out there that I made that calculation, and it was 96.6% is what you get from your potential sale, or in other words, the negotiating room that you had to come off is about 3.4%. So that number's not near as big as other folks think that it might be. Let's put it in simple terms. If you have a house that's worth $100,000 and you want to put it on the market, what that number is telling you is that you need to be no more than 3.4% over what you think the market value is. So if the market value is 100, in other words, we really probably ought to be listed at 103.4 rather than at 110 or something else. The problem that you run into, the higher price you have, the fewer buyers that you attract. The fewer buyers that you attract, law of supply and demand kicks in. You may have to negotiate more fully, and you may actually end up taking less than market value if you sit out on the market a long time. So keep these numbers in mind. If your agent's not presenting these numbers to you, you might want to consider an agent who looks beyond just, hey, what's the average price per square foot in my neighborhood, and in their pricing analysis, because these kind of numbers can really kind of give you a full-blown story of where the market's at. Certainly don't want to give away any of my trade secrets, but because I know there are realtors that will pick this up. But here again, this is just one of the factors that we look at. But if you as a potential seller will look at this, or if you as a potential buyer will look at this, you'll make a much more informed decision and have a much more pleasant real estate experience. As always, we appreciate you taking a look. You can follow us, as always, at Realtor Tate on YouTube and at Twitter. You can go to my website at www.kennytate.com. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you next week.